Alicia BigCanoe Nindishnakas, Nagigan Dodam, Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation, Nindunjaba, Takaranto, Ontario, Ninda, Canadian Roots Exchange, Nindonanagi. In light of the final report that was released by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada in June of 2015, Canadian Roots Exchange launched the campaign #94 Days for Reconciliation. For 94 days, Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal youth from across Canada have been releasing short videos on the 94 calls to action that were released in the final report by the TRC back in June. So I'd like to bring your attention to call to action number 71. We call upon all chief coroners and provincial vital statistics agencies that have not provided to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada their records on the deaths of the Aboriginal children in the care of the residential school authorities to make these documents available to the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation. So as many of you know, there is a slim chance that we will ever know the exact number of children who died in the Indian residential schools in Canada. And this is because there was a major lack of proper documentation during the time of the schools, and as well documentation in many cases was actually intentionally destroyed. By providing records on the deaths of the Aboriginal children who died in the residential schools to the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation, families of students who never return home from the schools can perhaps find justice, heal their wounded hearts, and perhaps eventually even seek closure. Failing to provide these documents simply continues to ignore the truth of what has happened and taken place within the Indian residential schools in Canada. Here's a quote that I found, which was printed in a report by the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation. Just want to leave this with you. The high death rates in the schools were, in part, a reflection of the high death rates among the Aboriginal community in general. Indian Affairs officials often tried to portray these rates as simply a price that Aboriginal people had to pay as part of the process of becoming civilized. In reality, these rates were the price they paid for being colonized. Thank you so much for listening, Miigwech, all my relations.